Mr. Roan,
Here.
Mr. Gatewood,
Present.
Ms. Johnson,
Present.
Dr. Murillo,
Present.
Mr. Bloger,
Present.
Ms. Simonson,
Present.
Ms. Fenless.
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, 4.1, public comment. On behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to thank the public for attending tonight's meeting. We value the feedback we receive from our residents and encourage everyone to take an active interest in their public school system. Residents interested in speaking to the Board of Education this evening are asked to have completed a comment card and presented it to the secretary to the board. When the secretary calls your name, I ask that you step to the microphone, state your name for the public record, and provide your feedback. Please note that comments are limited to 5 minutes per person, and no responses to your questions are permitted. Comments should address the Board of Education as a whole and not be directed to an individual board member, audience, or staff member. The Board of Education will not address concerns against individual employees. Rather, a complaint against an employee must be in writing and signed by the person who makes it, and the Board of Education will refer any such complaints to the appropriate review. Thank you.
Jennifer Snyder.
Starting over, good evening, everyone. You may recall that I spoke at last month's meeting about the effects that students are experiencing as a result of witnessing repeated violent outbursts by the classmates. In my son's classroom, there were no less than 4 major incidents that resulted in evacuations between March and the last day of school. Of those incidents, 1 evacuation was for an hour, 1 was for at least 15 minutes, 1 of those days included 3 evacuations, and 1 evacuation took place as the day was beginning at 9 a.m. None of those incidents were communicated with parents, despite many of us demanding to be informed since March. It was not until the final incident of the year that took place on May 22nd that Mitchinson finally communicated with parents to let us know that the class had been evacuated. I can tell you that there were incidents prior to March, but unfortunately we were all largely ignoring what our children were telling us because it sounded exaggerated, and that there was no way these things were happening without the school informing us. So I couldn't tell you how many outbursts took place prior to March. I can remind you that in January, that same student walked away from the school during recess and was missing for at least an hour without any adults noticing. I remind you of this simply to point out that the safety of our children under the current Old Post administration seems to be an overall concern. As I mentioned last month, I am aware that IDEA protects students that experience behavioral issues, including issues that are violent in nature. I'm simply asking that the district require documentation and communication regarding every behavioral incident that results in a room evacuation. It has recently come to my attention that there may already be a policy in place that requires this. As of right now, I have not been able to confirm this with a copy of a policy. This leads me to question if this is a policy that Old Post has failed to adhere to, subsequently putting our children's mental well-being at risk, or if I need to continue to ask the board to create such a policy until it is achieved. At this time, I am currently waiting for the district to process the multiple FOIA requests that I submitted in June. If necessary, I will make an additional request for a copy of any policies regarding room evacuations and behavioral incidents. I want to challenge you all to consider how a class that witnesses violent behaviors affects all students, as I feel the rest of the class is not often taken into consideration. I've provided the board with 2 hard copies of an extensive law review that discusses these effects of these incidents on the children that witness this kind of crisis repeatedly. I found the review to be incredibly insightful and educational. It details the purpose of IDEA and how every circuit court has a different way of handling cases of this nature. Aside from this law review, I have found no other credible resources that discusses the effects of outbursts on surrounding classmates, which supports my feeling that there is little emphasis on the well-being of the entire class. I will email a PDF copy of the law review as well so that you can read it in your preferred format. In the meantime, I will be sifting through the district's responses to my FOIA requests so that I can return next month with more concrete data regarding the number of behavioral incidents that Old Post reported involving room evacuations. I'm working hard to do my own due diligence in order to form a case that supports my request to either create a policy to document and communicate room evacuations or to take a harder look at whether or not our schools are adhering to such a policy. I don't feel that either of these requests is unreasonable, and I hope to be able to gather that information to bring to you so that there's no reason to deny my request. And lastly, just in case anyone forgot, I continue to be absolutely devastated that the administration banned me from returning to Old Post next year. While I continue to take responsibility for my actions, I am still incredibly sad that I cannot be there with those incredible children next year as I poured my heart and soul into them. I'm disappointed that the district saw this as purely business instead of holding a meeting between myself and Aramark to create a plan that would more clearly define the line of separation between Old Post Kitchen and the school. It concerns me that Old Post seems to be treating all of their incidents like business transactions instead of taking into consideration that there are children and adults involved. We cannot forget that in addition to children suffering as a result of the chaos in their classroom, their teacher was largely impacted as well. She required time off in order to take care of her own well-being. There are real people involved in these situations, and we need the schools to recognize that. Once again, thank you for listening. I hope that we can work together to strengthen our children's safety for the sake of their own well-being and mental health.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. This evening we have an opportunity to invite members of our Dr. Jadon Waller to speak to our equity report for the year, and really this is rooted in Vision 308 and our strategic plan. We are grateful for this opportunity to hear about the work that's been accomplished, but also the vision ahead. And Dr. Waller is part of a team and she'll have an opportunity to speak more to that.
Hi,
Hi.
Hello.
I'm happy to be here.
Happy to see
Happy
you.
to have you.
Oh, okay, awesome. I want to make sure you can hear me because it was, okay, are we good? All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Jadon Waller. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I'm super excited to share with all of you the work that our team has done this school year, share some of our challenges, our successes, and then ultimately what we would love to see happen for this next school year. So our goals for 2026, in which, you know, Faith and I have talked a bit about this because so much of this equity work has evolved since I started in 2021. And so, you know, ultimately it's extremely important for us to be gathering feedback from our students, from the community, from our teachers, et cetera. And so we want to make sure that as we're getting different points of feedback that they are aligned with our district equity statements, so that we can make sure that we are measuring what gets done. So thank you. Next. Do I do it? Oh, okay.
I'm signaling over here.
Oh, there we go. Right, that's something like, oh, fancy. Okay, awesome. Well, Faith, you want to go ahead and start with the first one?
Sure. So as the table is organized, the indicators of success are what we had talked about last year of what we would be looking at, and then this progress is in the second column in the right. So using the results of student surveys and classroom walkthroughs, we want to design staff development. So we spend quite a bit of time with a lot of adults going through and doing classroom walkthroughs. And we saw some really great implementation of differentiation and personalization. We also saw some opportunities for improvement, and we use that as our team as our formative assessment on how we're doing for professional development on whether it's reaching classrooms and being implemented. Some other ways that we are looking at choice and differentiation, the new junior high math resource that we have really gets in and looks at, on a short assessment, where students are at, and then provides repetition and practice where students need it, so that not everyone is doing the same assignment or the same homework piece. And then with our high school science department, they're really looking at culture responsive teaching and have done some training with that and incorporating the SEL components. And then with our new ELA components for our walkthroughs, with our new K-8 ELE curriculum that we are piloting and looking at a new resource for, we've really highlighted with that team culture responsive instruction and also the ability to have materials at our fingertips to provide both success and challenge for students on a regular basis.
Awesome, thank you. And so to add to that bit, I want to thank Dan Artson, because he supported the opportunity for me to be able to work with the high school science department. I actually work with, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later, with all the core subjects, but it was exciting to be able to look at science from a different lens and helping them to see that the way that we instruct is also how we are responsive. And so also adding to that with our K-8 ELA committee, you know, we have these incredible resources. We're going through these different pieces. And so having the resources and materials are extremely important. But again, having that conversation about how we instruct for cultural responsiveness is another bit with that. And so the second piece, we're going to use that data, as I mentioned before. Oh, no, please come back. I got all the boxes. You're the best. I'll say boom when I want you to go to the next one. Okay, so we use data collected from feedback, and so I really want to talk about our amazing students. It's been an honor and a privilege to create the Student Coalition, and this year we actually had 2 Amplify events. In the fall, we amplified mental health. In the spring, we amplified the coalition. The students are creative and brilliant. They have all these different thoughts and questions, and it's actually inspiring how vulnerable they are and how much they are willing to put themselves out there. And so even for our last coalition, we had board members who came, and they engaged with them as well from the audience, which again is another important bit. Having you all there and knowing that you're listening is so important to them. I love my superintendent student advisory committee. Hopefully Dr. Kilgatti lets me hang out with my baby still. They're another brilliant group of students. And, you know, it's a privilege because within the, you know Anya and Caitlin, and you all have been there for other past student ambassadors. And I mean, they say things where I'm like, oh, I got to go back and Google that myself, you know, and I can do that with them as well. And so it's been exciting. So it took a long while, but with the help too of Dr. Paul, we worked together to create this mental health survey. The students definitely went back and forth and over. Of course, Mr. Gatewood was there to inspire and ask all these great questions. And so we got over 2,300 students to participate in the survey. And so I'm sure that the student ambassadors may have mentioned, but we looked at student-to-student interaction, we looked at student-teacher interaction. And so we're still in the process of honestly figuring out what this looks like, but ultimately, you know we want to help remove these barriers so that our students have access and in a way to get the support that they need and that it's not too much of a challenge. We also know that our student-to-student interaction piece is something that is a challenge across the district, and they feel very passionate about how we can support, and so I'll talk about that in the next couple of slides. But in addition to that, they really wanted to talk about student-teacher relationships, but they also realized, you know what, we have to hear from teachers. And so in the fall, the next step is to make sure that we survey the teachers so that we can understand what they need, so we have great data. The students, yep, I talked about all that. Awesome. And the last bit here, develop a tiered approach of support. So, you know, my first year coming in, I did a tour across the district. I'm trying to get to know everyone. And from there, I realized that each level has a different need, right? So with elementary, they focused on the Cultivating Genius cohort, which was facilitated by Dr. Goldie Muhammad, as well as her colleague, Ms. Chelsea Love. And so we had 5 different sessions within that cohort. It included instructional coaches, teachers, administrators, so that we could talk about these 5 pursuits of learning. Because again, we may have the resources and materials, but we still have to talk about the how. And so that group did a phenomenal job, and there's a group of teachers who will be piloting the Cultivating Genius 5 pursuits in the fall. So I'm very excited about that. At the junior high level, there was a large participation with PDs at the elementary level as well. But what I noticed at junior high is the need for this culture and climate piece. And so there was a lot of great time spent with students in different buildings and supporting and doing affinity groups at one junior high. So it got really powerful and intentional, and I learned a lot. Boom. Okay. So I was continuing with this piece, as you see here, junior high. They engaged in those 2 trainings. And so on the PowerPoint, if you all do get a chance to look at that, it does list the specific trainings that took place, who was the audience, what it was about. If you have any questions about those, you know I'm always willing to go through those conversations. And so I want to continue making sure that we focus on that junior high and those student group pieces in the fall. So I'll talk a little bit more about that next. At the high school, I focused on core departments. Everyone has a different need. So I was able to collaborate with OE and OH, the English department, the math department, and we talked to them about ethnomathematics, like really getting them thinking about different things and different ways of looking at it. Social studies is always a pleasure because I like to pull the little pieces apart. But I had a great time with both of those. In addition to that, the coalition and some members of SSAC, they provided 2 lunch and learns last school year, 2 at each high school. One was around pronouns and gender identity and microaggressions, and then the other one focused on Ramadan. And so the students really enjoyed being able to advocate for themselves, and it was awesome to see how everyone came together, because even if you weren't a Muslim student, if you were part of the coalition, you got up there and you talked about Ramadan, right? Because we love and support each other. So the continued work on teaching students how to collaborate and work together, that again kind of goes on to what I was talking about with the Amplify event. There is going to be a student coalition at the junior high level, and I'm knocking on all the anything possible for luck that I can do this at all junior highs. Because the junior high students have a lot to say as well. And going into those spaces, you know, they talked about wanting a place to pray. They talked about wanting a variety in what they were learning. They talked about architecture and how they can make money. I don't know what's going on with those kids, but but the junior high is all about making money. But so they have a lot of thoughts. And on top of that, you know, Boulder Hill, they also created their Bobcats Diversity Club, which is led by Miriam Osich, who's phenomenal. So I call them my baby coalition, but they had a presentation and they had a fair, and students and staff all attended, and the students were so proud. They also came to Amplify and had their little cute Amplify shirts, and one student actually read his poem. So again, we want to empower them, you know, as young as we can to show them that their voice matters. In addition, with the high school students, I worked with freshmen. I taught all day. I will probably never do it again. It was 1st through 8th period, and I don't think I used the washroom through 7th, but but it was, you know, it was, again, another opportunity to engage with students and understand what they're thinking and talk about trigger warnings and what's necessary when they're talking about controversial texts, and even supporting the teachers and helping them to understand that you don't have to know all the answers. Your job is to create the space for thinking and creating a space that's safe. And so we were able to have a lot of different conversations with that group. And I also shared that information with Oswego East teachers as well, because a few of them reached out. So continuing that work on training adults how to intervene. That is, you know, one of the biggest things, again, that student-to-student interaction. How do we intervene on behalf of our students to support them? And making sure that we're intervening on both ends, whether it's the student that may have unintentionally caused harm, and the student that may have been harmed. Like, this is a big piece. And so early childhood through 12th grade staff, they participated in many trainings, and a lot of them realized that their expertise lies in where their experience is. And so then we have conversations about how we can have different types of experience. Who are we keeping around us so that we can learn more, and doing the same for students as well. I share, if I have a sibling who's deaf and hard of hearing, I have the personal experience of being able to see the beauty of the language and learn about the language, but also understand those challenges. And if I don't have that direct connection, then it's harder to have empathy. And so really challenging ourselves to be around all kinds of different folks so we can grow. So the topics varied from removing the barriers for special education students, where we look at the medical model and the social model of those barriers. We talked about LGBTQ and understanding language and the nuances and the statistics of what happens when we don't affirm students' identities. And then we also really kind of dove in deeply with the idea of that taking up space so that we can create space for those marginalized voices. And there is a link of more information there. And exciting too, and hoping to do a lot more, our TAs actually were able to participate in training this year as well. And I received support from an EL TOSA and a couple other TOSAs, and Faith jumped in. So it was great because I was supposed to be in 4 places at once. So I'm grateful for team. Boom. All right, so indicators of success that will be reported at next year's annual meeting. So, I've been talking about our students, and I've been talking about, doing these PDs, and I love presenting. It's definitely, something that I get excited about, and being vulnerable. But I want to be able to build capacity. At this point, I've done over 70 PDs last school year with support of some other folks as well. But I was tired, y'all. And when I reached in to, get feedback from different groups of people, and I'm asking them, how often are you engaging in this work on your own? And, a lot of times people will say, I want to, but I don't have time, or I'm doing it here, I'm doing it there. And so, I realized I love to be in the space, but if you only see me 2 or 3 times a year, that's not gonna move what we need to move. So this next school year, I'm excited to work with elementary and junior high buildings, along with the Student Services Department, Jeremy Bell and Dr. Paul, to start to work with the SIP teams and work with any form of team that they have that's going to be DEI focused, so that by the end of the school year, they've done and led their own, at least 2 at the elementary, at least 1 at junior high, although I am going to push a little bit more for junior high. But that's the middle child. So, but I'm excited to work with them as well. We also, I'm excited to work with teachers on special assignment. I was able to hire a DEI TOSA, so I'm very, very, very elated about this. She's brilliant. And so she and myself, we're gonna work with those instructional coaches. We're gonna work with the level directors, because again, it's about building capacity in the space. And so, when we're looking at that elementary level and with those instructional coaches, I want her in those classrooms. I want her coaching instructional coaches, and as well as myself, so that they can begin to also understand how we are using those cultural responsive strategies and those texts in the classroom. In addition, I want to increase student capacity, right? Because those are our babies, and I'm telling you, they are amazing. And so in order for us to be able to do that, we have to create intentional opportunities. And so I know the SSAC, they discussed how they wanted time to be spent during those half days to actually have intentional conversations, because their building has so many student groups, our Muslim Student Association, our Asian Student Association, Indian, Black, True Colors, Hate Free at OE. There's so many, German, French, all these different clubs, right? And so it's going to be important for us to show them how to lead these conversations as well, because the more that they know, hopefully, the goal is that they'll be more empathetic, right? And so We see that at the elementary level, I was able to present at Grand Park, specifically fourth grade, and they learned and had conversations around That's Okay and Black Monkey. And these children in fourth grade were able to engage in such a powerful conversation, and even the affirming of our students there are a few who had two moms, and so again, affirming that piece in them. And so the principal reported that after that presentation that they didn't see any issues. And so we believe and know that if our fourth graders can start having conversations, then we can definitely work with junior high and high school. And so then again, it's that intentionality at that junior high level to say, well, what student groups can we create at this level outside of my coalition, right? So that we can create this space for students to engage and have this powerful and honest conversation. I know I'm talking a lot. I'm sorry, I'm hurrying up. And so we want to increase the student capacity to be inclusive and safe. And I'm speaking about that for that junior high, and then thinking about that SSAC and the Student Coalition and the other high school groups. Again, we want to empower and leverage them to be able to start to lean into what they believe is going to be effective. Also, I want to work to build capacity of social workers to, be able to consistently engage with students from all kinds of backgrounds, and understanding that, social work came from social welfare. And so it is extremely important for us to continue to realize that, like, we are here for the people, we are here for the babies. And so we will put them first. And so I'm excited to work with them, to share with them some different angles and ideas, and also learn from them as well. Finally, I'm excited to work with the district improvement team to charter our DEI design team. That is going to be a huge journey there, but in doing this, we're hopeful to be able to create these indicators for success around SMART goals, so that we can start, holding ourselves accountable. Not that we're not doing it in a qualitative way, but in a quantitative way now, where we can actually measure what gets done. So I'm excited to collaborate with different departments to focus specifically on student discipline, on student academic success, and on student programs. Boom. Some highlights and connections, and I want to thank Faith for supporting me in this area as well. Finance. Honestly, I'm great at spending money, but I'm grateful to be able to figure out ways to save money, right? So, as we build the capacity of our own leaders, we then don't have to worry about, paying for outside individuals to come in, because we're homegrown inside, and we're building the capacity of our own people to get to do this work and to live this work. Student learning, every curriculum renewal process is including this intentional opportunity. And, the elementary has this fun piece of it, because they are getting this new curriculum, but they're also looking at it from the 5 Pursuits lens. And so, that's just going to be super exciting. Support for student learning, as you can see, there's all these different pieces. Our school environments have been challenging this year. What I focused on my first year is not what I focused on my second year. And a lot of the work at times does feel like it's putting out fires or it's downstream. And so, I really am hoping that our goals for this next school year will help with some of that influx that we are seeing from, our various students. And, I say this in my trainings, when I look at our district, we are extremely diverse. The majority of the people that we serve have or come from a marginalized background. As we, the first year when we did our high school survey, about 20% of our students who took that survey identified as LGBTQ. And so we have a lot of students who we need to serve, and whose needs that we need to meet. So excited to get that going. In addition, community partnerships, I'm super excited to work with Waubonsee Community College. I reached out, and actually someone from Oswego Library hooked me up with someone from Waubonsee, and then I harassed them for a while, and it was great. And so we are going to be doing our first annual student DEI conference, October 20th at Waubonsee Community College. We invited 10 school districts, and 11 including our own, and right now we've heard back from about, I think it's 6, from Valley View School District, Plainfield, District 204, Plano, West Aurora. So I'm just very, very excited. And then I actually also got Dr. Goldie Muhammad to do the student keynote virtually, but for free, y'all. So I'm really excited about that. We went to high school together. I was like, come on, girl. But anyway, she's phenomenal, and I know the kids are going to love her. And so I'm just grateful to be able to have the space to be myself and to be as creative as possible and to do what I can to love on kids. So thank you.
Good. My. Listen, I think about exhaling, right?
I know.
And all of you, I mean, administrators have done a phenomenal job this year. And there's just so much work to be done and so much work that is getting done. And you're just an example of that work. And so I really appreciate that. And I thought about when you were talking, where's Waldo? We're just going to say, where's Dr. Waller?
Yeah.
Because you're everywhere, right? The training, oh my goodness. I loved how you talked about teachers don't have to have all the answers, because teachers think they have to have all the answers, right? But it's really good that you can take the weight off of their shoulders to let them, so that they understand that those students are amazing, right? Oh my God, the way they think, the way they articulate themselves, and if you put them in a room and provide that safe space, they will give you all the answers you need.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll say.
Go ahead. I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation, and with your, if we could take half your enthusiasm and diffuse it amongst all of us, there's no way we can fail. So, but thank you to both you and to Faith. That's a great presentation.
Thank you very much.
The one thing I'll say is I have an opportunity, the pleasure of working with Dr. Waller with the student ambassadors. And it's one of the only times where I work with administration that's student-facing. And her ability to connect with the students and to help them to feel seen and heard and appreciated is exceptional. So thank you for the work that you do, and I appreciate it.
I have one additional comment, actually a comment and then an encouragement. And so I echo everything everyone said, and I would also add that I don't speak for the whole board, but I know among my board members there's a great dedication to these initiatives related to DEI. And so that's one encouragement. And the second one is this idea of building capacity and streamlining, and the idea that many hands make light work. It seems like now's the time to really lean into that. So that's my other encouragement. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have a comment and then a clarifying question. Again, I echo everything that has been said, and on top of what Eugene said, you hold capacity and you hold space not only for students, but a lot of your coworkers as well. And that is something that continues to show up in the district. And so I thank you for that. The Amplify event this year was very different than the Amplify event last year. I'm not going to lie, it was a little uncomfortable that you were calling on the people in the audience, but it was brilliant as well. I was just very nervous being called upon. But you know what? To be able to connect the audience with the students, I thought was incredibly powerful. Seeing the Boulder Hill students get involved absolutely was the highlight of that for me, because that is where we build and we grow and we explain, and we maybe stop some things in the initial where those ideas get planted. So thank you for that. There is as we all know, we're kind of have been in an era of misinformation. And I would just like to ask a clarifying question. Are we paying Great Lakes Equity Company?
No.
And to
That was
your
loud.
best knowledge, I'm not asking about whether they're a great resource or not, just asking if we are paying Great Lakes Equity, and if you know, have we paid them recently?
No, this is going into my 3rd year, and we have not paid for their resources since I started.
Thank you very much.
And I can just say that their Their funding comes from the U.S. Department of Education. There's a
Thank you for that.
Yeah, there's a grant. When we started working with them, they had a $10 million grant that they shared with different states in which they have cohorts. And so we've never paid to have, we've gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of resources and technical assistance from them, but there's no cost to us. It comes from a grant.
I appreciate that. I just continue to see that information in the local social media. And while I'm not here to talk about whether they are a good resource or not a good resource, I just am trying to dispel the misinformation. So thank you both very much.
Thank you.
I think one of the highlights that I really want to underscore is that if you were thinking about sending your children to this district, this is the place to be seen in. And your work really highlights the way in which belonging and that sense of belonging are so crucial, but it requires a team effort, both from a systems level, but also in terms of capacity building, in terms of the modeling that you're doing for all of us, right? And so I think that's something that spoke volumes through the work you've done is how do we engage our students? It's not sitting back, it's leaning in and then listening really well. And I want to commend you and your team and for the work you've done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Ploger. And Mr. Cerrone. I'm sorry. You all got me emotional up here. I also want to thank my amazing team who came to support me tonight. I love y'all.
Thank you.
Okay. We are at 6.1, Superintendent Report. So Dr. Kelgati, this is your very first Superintendent Report for our district, and we are excited to have you. July 1st was our first opportunity to collaborate and experience Dr. Kelgati's leadership. And like I told the team, you are who we hoped you would be. And so we really appreciate it. And I'm going to let you share whatever is on your heart to share.
Thank you, Madam President and Board. I'm honored to be here this evening. I want to thank, first and foremost, the Board for its confidence and welcoming me to join this community in our efforts to envision the best success and future for our students. Over the last week, it's really been a wellspring of enthusiasm and kindness and care. I see many of the members I've had a chance to meet over the last week, and just that feeling of welcome, and I want to thank you for that. I want to thank the Board for its time over the last couple of weeks. Though my appointment was June 14th, we jumped right in together and locked arms to learn. I had some vacation days set aside to rest, but my enthusiasm got the best of me. And I had a chance to meet many members of Cabinet, and I want to thank the Cabinet for its time during this very busy period. I do know that we're getting ready for the next school year, and that is not lost to me. And I have to say that if you're a parent wondering about the plans and what we've got set up, things are humming along, and we will be ready August 16th to receive our students, and that makes me very excited. Sitting here, and when we stood to recite the Pledge of Allegiance was kind of a moving moment, and it actually took me back for a minute to my memory of, I was actually, I don't know if this was on my resume, but I was a defensive tackle, a freshman in high school. And it's been many years since I've had a chance to stand in a high school. And remembering that moment on that football field in Massachusetts. And the story comes full circle this past Friday morning as I arrived in the office around 7 a.m. on the Oswego High School football field. Is there a chant for that? So, there were two students on the field playing, practicing. They were hitting, I forget the name of it, the
Pads.
the what? The pads, right? They were practicing. And I pulled up and I said, "What's going on, guys? It's 7 a.m. It's a little early." And they introduced themselves. I introduced myself to them, and they shared with me that the season doesn't start, that they can't practice officially yet, but they were so excited to get out here on this Friday morning and practice and get themselves ready for this season. And they're rising sophomores. And that just took me back to the sense of motivation, inquisitiveness, commitment that these students demonstrated, and really grabbed my heart, because that is exactly what I felt as I went through the interview process, as I got to know each of you. Dedication, commitment, care, passion. How are the children? The children are well in this community. They are thriving and they are excited. Now it is our job to create the best conditions to help them even be better, because we know that we live in a society that is struggling, that is also hurting. And so how we organize ourselves, as we just heard in this report, is so important. And that is what I'm excited about joining the board in its efforts. If I may, just a few more comments. We are, this past couple weeks, the communications and the district teams have been preparing our new website. We are slowly rolling it out. And while we want that opportunity to flip the script and all be perfect, there are technical limitations to that. And so we've been working very hard to address those. We're going to be working with our schools teams to ensure that we are aligned, and when there are needs, we're going to make sure that those are resolved very quickly. We anticipate that those websites will be ready sooner than later. The full website will be ready, but we are working very closely with the team that's rolling it out. As part of my entry plan, I've also had the opportunity to meet with members of the cabinet, with the executive leadership team, as well with principals, and thinking about what are the needs. And so I have been thinking a lot about what are some things that would help support that. And so part of my 90-day entry plan will include some initial reorganization, also to support and lift the community of educators and administrators who are wanting to support our students best. And so those are some of the things that I'm thinking about. First and foremost, this being my official third day on the job, is really to get to know you, and for the staff and the community to get to know me. And I want to thank everybody for helping coordinate that and for getting into making those connections necessary so that we can lock arms and work towards really making this, continuing to make this the best district ever. Thank you.
Thank you.
How are the children? What do we say? The children are well. I love it. All right, 6.2, board member comments. Any board member comments?
Mine are relatively limited. I just participated in 3 parades. We had a huge contingent of students, parents, community members, educators at the Prairie Fest parade. I mean, it was just, I looked back, I couldn't see when it ended. So I don't even know, like, it seemed like it was half the people there. So that was great. Mary Jo was there as well. It's going to be a trend. Mary Jo and myself, we also, what's that?
I said, and he was too.
Oh yeah, you were in the audience, right? Yeah. Mary Jo and I, we also walked in the Pride Parade. We were with a contingent of students from the high schools, so that was great. And then we were also walked in the 4th of July Parade. Now, Mary Jo did way more than that, but that was my limited
I went to
participation.
Newark.
She went to Newark.
It's a
You did
beautiful
something
Newark.
in Plano too, right?
No. Oh, that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, you did it.
Finish up what you were saying.
Oh no,
Now.
yeah. That's we also did 4th of July. I don't know if I said that in Yorkville. So, but yeah, that's it. Just wanted to let people know that we're involved. So.
Sure. Thank you for reminding me. I did everything that Dominic said. I was also involved in the Juneteenth parade march in Plano, and they had a festival after that. So that was pretty eye-opening. Basically, we kind of did the march that was equivalent in distance to the amount of time that the last of the slaves found out that they had been freed. It was hot. However, relative to the actual event, it was just fine. So I participated in that. You probably also know that I volunteered a lot of things within the community, both for the Park District, for the village, et cetera. And so I've been in a couple events, including Prairie Fest, the past couple weeks. Last Thursday, I was at an event at the venue, and there was a band playing, and I volunteered at the beverage tent. But I did talk to some people that had come up to say hi to me, and more than one person indicated their excitement about the changes, not only with the new superintendent, but also with new board members. And I think expectations are high. I think we're up to the task, but I just wanted to add a little bit more pressure. You know, no additional pressure to anyone, but that's it from me.
Eugene? Okay. Jerry?
Go ahead.
So I had the honor, I'll explain how this is tied in, but I had the honor of attending the 4th of July parade in Aurora, and they honored our commission, which for those who don't know, I'm one of the commissioners in the Grand Army of the Republic Museum in downtown Aurora, and that was quite an honor. And how that relates, if you're wondering, is I was super excited the other day to see that we run summer camps there, and I was super excited to see some of our 308 students participating in the history summer camp that the GAR does. So I always love to give nods, and so, you know, hey, if you ever are in downtown Aurora, please check it out. It's a gem that we have in our area that I don't think still there are enough people who know about it. So, and love that we have some 308 students who are discovering it.
Great, thank you.
I want to take the opportunity. I wasn't here when Dr. Calgatti's contract was voted on. I was in Indiana with my son at football camp, but I wanted to make sure that even though it's unofficial, I vote yes.
Thank you.
And I let you know that I did, and I was sad not to be here. But we talk a lot about transformational leadership and what those attributes are, and I can go on and on. Understanding the need for change, understanding the power of networks, personal integrity, encouraging communication and community, and that all came through in your interviews and your background check. And since you have started unofficially and officially, I look forward to our community seeing what we have all seen. And so while you may all know these attributes, it's rare that you meet a transformational leader, and I'm very proud that you are here in our district, so thank you very much. And again, like everybody has shared, very high expectations. I will speak for myself personally. I feel like the last, I would say, 7-8 years, and maybe even longer, we have not been able to put together what we need to excel. And I think through a lot of hard work, a lot of tough decisions, that is finally coming together with this board, with some hires, with your 90-day plan that you've presented. And more than anything, we need to show up and rise up for our students. And I think we're starting that. I'm going to talk about something. We are going to be voting on an intergovernmental agreement later on today. It is with a group that is very near and dear to my heart, so I just wanted to say a little bit of something about Community Cares. In 2020, when our schools were closed because of the pandemic, the need didn't stop, the need for our students and our families and our community. And Community Cares became a bridge for this need. It started as a Facebook group with a few friends and grew to 2,700 members in a week. In the meantime, the district started free breakfast and lunch distribution, and after a few days, reached out to Community Cares because they needed help delivering those meals to people that couldn't get to the schools. Between March 25th and August 7th, Community Cares delivered 30,000 meals to students in our school district. And I hope everybody got goosebumps, because I sure do. I've known that number, and it still blows me away. The Community's Care Closet distributes diapers, wipes, and personal care items, and each month at the Satellite Food Pantry. Robin Vickers, who has put this this project together that has now become a group, has supported these neighbors of ours. These are neighbors, these are our students, these are our families. And I can't believe it's taken us this long to sign that agreement, but I am so proud that we are finally doing that tonight. And I look forward to seeing how that program grows. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to 7.1, the consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve all items under consent, including minutes of the following special closed session Board of Education meetings: May 30th, May 31st, June 1st, June 7th, and June 8th, 2023. Minutes of a regular Board of Education meeting on June 5th, 2023, open and closed session, and minutes of a special Board of Education meeting on June 14th, 2023, open and closed session, and to acknowledge the FOIA requests received by the district.
Second.
Dr. Maria,
Aye.
Ms. Medmet,
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone,
Aye.
Ms. Simulton,
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood,
Aye.
Ms. Johnson,
Aye.
Mr. Ploger.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Are there any questions on the financial statements?
No, it's just information, so you go to 8.2.
Okay. I'm going to invite next, we have any questions regarding the new Oswego High School marquee?
Just a clarifying question. So for this, I'll just ask this question. I know the answer, but I want to make sure that it gets brought out. Will these funds impact capital project funding at all?
In terms of district capital projects, no. The funds were going to be raised through the school and through some student fundraising, so.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So just to give you guys just a little bit of background of the
Yeah,
rationale
it's important.
behind it, our current marquee was installed in 1984 as it stands now. In 2004, we got the electronic messaging center, which is the digital part of it, replaced. We're about 20 years out now. So all the feedback that we've
So
gotten.
20 years out?
Yeah, we're 20 years out now. So we're about 20 years since 2004, 19 years. So when we have intermittent issues with our marquee, the feedback that we get is that it's so outdated. If any of the major internal parts of it were to malfunction, we would have to replace the whole thing anyway. So, I mean, a lot has changed since 2004 technologically. So this is just a preventative, proactive measure that we're taking to ensure that we're not only meeting the needs of our community with regards to communication, but also just being proactive, because we would hate for anything to happen when we weren't expecting it, and our marquee to not be functioning for months at a time. So.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to just kind of give you guys a glimpse of how the new marquee would look. The old marquee, no one makes these size dimensions anymore, so we've had some companies come out. We had 3 or 4 companies come out, went through the bid process, and they showed us actual physically. They brought trailers out and showed us how it physically looked. So it's a lot less easier to adjust it kind of horizontally than vertically, because as you see when you start to go too far up, it impacts the Oswego, the actual sign. So this is what we kind of landed on from a compromise with regards to that.
No, I thought you were done. I was going to say I want to see the other picture.
Oh, there you go.
That's all, and I want just so the community sees.
So you did a good mock-up. I mean,
Yeah.
technology, the software is pretty outdated too. So with the upgrade, we'll have the capability of, it'll be cloud-based, so we can adjust. They can troubleshoot. They can do all that stuff remote. So it's a win-win in our opinion.
So you're getting a whole new unit.
No, just
Just
EMC, just a
okay.
digital board, the electronic messaging center. So they'll kind of spruce up the outside, but you know, if we wanted to get a whole new structure, it'll be a lot more.
The original?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I just didn't see the guy there before.
Yeah, he pops in and pops
The guy's
out.
new.
Depending on-
And just to confirm, you said the funding for it is coming from,
So fundraisings, donate. So we annually have donations by student organizations for enhancements in our building, our senior groups, our student councils, and things like that. So it'll be a combination of fundraising and donations from student organizations. And we did get feedback from our students before making the decision to pursue this venture.
thank you.
It's a
You're
legacy.
welcome.
They voted on this for their, to use the funds for?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
Principal Grace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seems like a
you.
no.
Seems like a no-brainer.
Okay. Next, athletic training contract. Mr. Arnson, Executive Director of our high school and K-12 assessment, is here to answer any questions on the athletic training contract. Yes. Mr.
I
Hardin.
need it after tonight. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. So Darren Howard is here with me tonight. Darren is the athletic director at Oswego High School and our district athletic director as well, too. So he can help answer any questions you may have. You know, one of the things, the key aspects that athletic trainers play in our school system and specifically after school activities is it's really a safety issue and injury prevention. You know, we presented this information in the memo for you guys to look over for a 3-year contract for Athletico, and hopefully we can answer any questions you have after that. But there has been some significant cost issues as of late, and we can explain with that too if you have questions with that. But largely speaking, this 3-year contract will bring Oswego East and Oswego High School under the same contract for the next 3 years, giving us some known costs to work off of. Which really puts us in a better position due to the increasing costs year after year from athletic training. Do you want to, as to why this increase?
Currently, athletic trainers have to have a master's degree. That was not the case in the past. Also, during the COVID time, neither Athletico nor ATI raised prices on us, although they were taking price increases themselves. So we're just at the point where that cost increase is now coming to the end user. So the initial contract that we got from ATI for 2 trainers was about $122,000. That same contract from Athletico is at about $88,000 for each school. So $176,000 total in that first year. And I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but between the 2 high schools, we host about 1,300 athletic contests a year.
Wow.
Host. That doesn't count the road ones as well. So it's a big district with a lot in athletics.
Can you do that before and after? That you said that for 2 it was a certain amount, and then for 4 it's a certain amount. So for 2, how much was it?
It's 2 trainers per school at $88,000 per school. So 4 total.
Oh, you were just giving the bids.
Correct.
Oh, okay. I thought. Okay.
No.
Is there a particular reason why you went with the vendor? Is it only cost? Is that your only reason for going with the vendor that you chose?
ATI, in our research, ATI is in some financial trouble. Their stock took a dramatic drop. We feel Athletico is the safer choice, and it was the better bid. We've had Athletico at Oswego High School for the last 8 years, and it has been just an outstanding situation for us.
That's great.
And excuse me, at Oswego East, they've had great experience with ATI as well, but ATI was not able to offer a 3-year contract like Athletico was. Having that known cost, again, was something we very much appreciate.
Is there a reason that we cannot hire this type of employee internally? I don't know if internally is the right word, but put them on our, like someone at this level on ours, why we're using an outside contracted position.
And we've looked into that. financially, right now, it's still in our best interest to hire with Athletico.
Okay.
Other districts have gone that route. There are some added benefits to that, there's no doubt. But even just financially, as of right now, the best course of action for us would be to go with Athletico for the 3-year deal. At that point, after these next 3 years, depending on how the market is and other aspects, that might be something we absolutely investigate. But that does, again, have added benefits to it.
Okay.
What, can you just name a few of those added benefits?
Well, I think always having your known employees in the building, right? Just as we hire coaches, we love hiring coaches that are working within the school district because they have those familiar faces, they have those relationships with our students. We don't always have that with athletic trainers because sometimes they come and go as other employees do. I would say largely speaking, you know, from my previous experience as an athletic director, and Darren can speak to this as well, when we have an athletic trainer sticking around for years at a time, it adds tremendous value to the organization. The students buy into it a lot more. They build those relationships again. So there is tremendous value in that. But with this time-sensitive nature of costs continuing to rise, for us to scramble and do something, we don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction to do something like that without having a really thought-out program.
And just to kind of piggyback some of that conversation, I can speak to the next largest district after us, and I know they have 2 athletic trainers at each high school, but they still, it's still a cumbersome schedule when you look at it, and so they're still having to contract out on top of the 2 FTEs. Probably not to that extent, right? Because it's probably to fill gaps and so forth, but even with 2 FTEs, they're still having to contract out.
Got it.
I just have to go back to what you said, like scrambling to do this. We knew this contract was coming up, correct?
We knew the contract was coming up. We did not know there was going to be that jump in the price increase.
Okay. So now that we know if a 3-year contract gets approved, we will start looking at how we are going to mitigate that in 3 years, because I go back to, you know, what you say. Obviously, anybody can leave the district if they're an employee, but building those relationships and having that person as an employee and on site really does have some intrinsic value to it. So I look for, well, I won't be on the board then, but I do look forward to whatever that looks like down the road.
And that was the reason why I was asking, not for today, but 3 years from now.
I do think there's going to be a shortage of athletic trainers, so it very well could become a bidding war in 2 or 3 years. We'll just have to see what that end result is at that point.
Got it.
To give you the idea of a little bit of the jump that we didn't really expect, last year at Oswego East, the contract was about $54,000. The initial offering they got was for about $120,000 this upcoming year. It was a substantial increase that we weren't anticipating.
And Oswego's was 37 going to 88. And the reason ours was lower was because our current person is full-time, East is part-time.
And is there obviously we can't do anything about it, but what are they saying is the benefit to having the master's licensure, you know, having that? What's the point?
It's become a requirement in their industry, and I think, again, it's because of the shortage situation that they're trying to raise the profession itself and also the value of those people.
Bless you.
Good. Thank you, gentlemen,
Thank you.
for your
Thank you.
service. Next, we have our intergovernmental agreement with Community Cares. Ms. Comitas, Executive Director of Communications, will be able to answer any questions on the intergovernmental agreement with Community Cares.
Yeah, so thank you, and thank you, Ms. Johnson, for the nice words that you shared regarding this organization. I do recall myself working with Mrs. Robin Vickers very early on during our COVID challenges and watching how this organization has really blossomed and grown out of the desire for initially for parents to help each other, and as our community kind of embraced that and it grew. So our district currently does run a satellite pantry out of the old Trauber building, as you all are well aware, in coordination with our outreach team underneath Michelle Early's leadership. And she and Mrs. Robin Vickers work very closely on helping to collaborate on needs for our students and our families across our community. And so this agreement really is just intended to formalize that space and that partnership as we look to both work side by side and meeting those needs for our families moving forward. So if there's any questions, we're happy to answer them.
I have a question. I mean, I'm very excited about this partnership. I really appreciate everything that Community Cares has done. My question is, I see that it's an in-kind contract and there's nothing stated in regards to price, but are there any costs that we should consider or that we should be thinking about that could possibly be, I'll just stop there. Are there any
Sure.
costs that we should be thinking
So
about?
because the timing is coordinating with activities that we already have over there, it's just an added, really kind of bringing additional services to what's already in place over there. It really is not opening additional hours or bringing additional staff or resources to that location. So there is not any known additional costs by formalizing this agreement.
No, yeah, and that's what I would just recommend is that just over time, someone to watch, because right now it's not any cost, but let's just pay attention to it over the course of, because once it's operationalized, we may realize that there are some costs associated. I'm sorry for asking, but I don't know, is this an annual contract or is there?
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
annual, okay,
Yeah.
so we can look at it next year.
But to your point, Mr. Gatewood, I think it's important that we forecast, because to be able to grow the opportunity is like with a clothing closet for, you know, our students that are leaving to go on interviews or so forth. And also, the reality is that one of the other things that Community Cares does is helps people who have something happen that they never expected. You know, they suddenly find themselves out of a job or, you know, going through a divorce or something that catastrophic can happen. And I think it's really important that maybe we look at those, any cost that might be involved, but also how we can make sure that we are providing for our school community. So I think that's something that maybe we could look into.
Yeah, and there is, this is really, what this group is doing is enhancing some of the things already in place. So I know under Michelle Early's oversight, we do have a number of programs and also trying to meet those kind of ad hoc needs that come in place so that we can really be a resource. Or if we can't be the provider of it, having those agreements and those partnerships in place across numerous organizations in the community to help meet the needs is definitely very important to the organization. At this time, though, this specific agreement really addresses just enhancing the distribution days and the utilization of the space already occurring at Old Trauber and bringing these additional pieces in. So it wouldn't just be food, it would be the food and personal care items. And then as we get closer to the start of school, it'd be the back to school program.
Perfect. And that
Teresa,
was,
what is the date of the backpack
Yeah.
packing?
Robin? Mrs. Vickers here. August 5th is distribution of the backpacks. Stay attuned
Yeah.
for volunteer opportunities
Exactly.
to
Yes.
help you.
Yeah, we know you're always
backpack.
looking for
Yes.
opportunities.
Why
Oh,
don't we have Robin
Sorry.
come up and share that news? I think that's really exciting. And as I got to hear about this last week, I think it's really another example that really illustrates the way in which together we are caring and we are a caring community. So.
Our distribution will be on Saturday, August 5th from 9 to 11 a.m. You're all welcome to come. It's actually pretty cool. We do a drive-through thing. We're big on dignity for the people who receive the backpacks. So we just don't give them a backpack. They get to pick what color. Each kid gets to pick the color they want, and it's appropriate grade level for them. And we will be stuffing the backpacks one night that week before. Typically, we try and look at which day is not the hottest because there's no air conditioning in Old Trauber, so it's a little warm. So it'll probably be Tuesday or Wednesday that week, but we will get
Wonderful.
that broadcast out as soon
wonderful.
as we...
And then, I'm sorry. The one last thing about my question, just to bring it full circle, the reason I'm asking the question in regards to any costs is because I'm also thinking about community partnerships.
Yes.
And so if there are, and we can forecast, not just now, but in the future, any of the cost, including just even supplying it, we can start thinking about additional partners that we have. And I love the fact that Dr. Kilgotti, you asked Robin to come forward because, again, hopefully someone is hearing this that could say, oh, we have 10,000 backpacks that we can donate. So I'm just trying to make sure that any unknown costs, as you said, any costs that we do realize that we can pull together as a community and other partners can join in to support our students.
And I would just say, if you can make it, I was there last year. It was awesome. I got to direct traffic as well as stuff bags and hand out to some of our students. The students are there also, so it's phenomenal. And I can't say enough. I'm glad you said what you said, Jen, because I can't say enough about community cares. There's some stories I can't even share that where people have approached me and community cares has stepped in, which has been great. And I remember during the pandemic, I would teach in the morning and I'd skip my lunch and deliver meals around 308 and then come back and do student support. And it was so therapeutic, and not just for me, but I know a lot of the other community members who were delivering meals also. And the benefits that this organization has had has just been tremendous, to say the least.
But delivering the meals was really special because
It really was.
at first, we were all in our house. You couldn't open the door to anybody. And so kids would leave notes on the doors, or they would wave at you out the window when you came up to leave it on their doorstep. So it really helped bring the community together, I think, because you're all sitting at home looking for something to do, and this was something very positive. So
Yeah. I had an elementary student draw a picture of me, and I'm pretty sure that picture is actually better than what I look like.
Identical.
So August 5th from 9 to 11 is the backpack pickup that week. You can search for Community Cares on Facebook.
And we have a website, communitycaresgroup.com, and that under Start Strong, which is the name of the backpack program, we have registration for families to register for supplies. We also have a lot of donation opportunities. We look for sponsors. We look for just help buying some supplies. So that's all listed on there. So, including handy little shopping lists already created at Target, Walmart, and Amazon.
Nice. And you can have it just shipped right.
Yeah, but
right
it gets
there.
shipped
Yeah,
straight to my house,
right.
and then
Love it.
I make my
convenient.
sons haul it over to the full truck for me.
Well, we're here. Whatever you need, we'll be there.
Okay.
All
Robin,
right,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Robin, before you go, do you have a sign-up sheet for volunteer opportunities or any of those things?
We don't right now. The way we do the backpack stuffing is we literally just say, hey, if you can come when you can. We kind of have it down to an art now or science. It goes really fast. And we usually end up and get 20 to 30 high school kids show up to stuff the backpacks. So.
That's awesome.
Okay, great,
And
thanks.
then as we get closer to the pantry, to school starting, we coordinate with the pantry for volunteers for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you get an orange pass?
I don't remember.
We'll get you an orange vest, Jen.
Thank you again. Now we have a resolution providing for the issue of general obligation refunding bonds. We've got Dr. Petschke, our Chief Financial Officer, and we're also Jennifer Courier, Vice President of PMA, who will be able to answer any questions that the board may have.
Are you going to do a presentation first? Or?
Yeah, we have, it's just, this is just an
No, I
informational
had some
item.
questions.
You're already excited.
Yeah.
Well,
There's no presentation.
Cliffhanger.
I apologize. There is a presentation that we gave, but I'll kind of talk through what we see here, so you won't see it on the screen. Basically, the district currently has 10 bonds, outstanding bonds of debt. Those 10 bonds equal about $229 million of debt. We pay those bonds down every year. And for instance, 2 of the bonds will be paid off by the end of 2007, and we'll be down to 7 outstanding bonds. And I think we're pulling it up.
2027. I'm assuming. I'm going to assume 2027. You meant 2027, right? Just to.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
2027.
No problem.
I thought I lost time somewhere.
What did I say?
2007.
2007, yeah.
Wishful thinking. Wishful
So
thinking.
join me on a blast to the past. So
Only
thank you, Peter. Thank you, Ty. Thank you. All right. So this will help a little bit, give you a little illustration of what we're talking about, so you don't need to make a visual picture in your mind, although I know I was doing a super job. You were all right with me. So this is a slide just showing what PMA monitors for us. They look at all of our bonds. So going horizontally across this list, you can see there are 10 bonds. So starting with the 2000A series bonds, 2011, 2013, all the way over. And it shows you our payment schedule on those bonds every year. And if you go to the bottom right of that chart, you'll see the number $229 million. That's how much outstanding debt the district currently has in principal, not including interest. And so what we've done is we've worked with the debt that we have. We've structured it to have the least amount of impact or fluctuation for the taxpayers. And we also monitor it for callable dates for the bonds. So on our next slide here, you can see that the 2013 bonds from the previous list are actually callable on or after October 1st, 2023. That represents, of the $229 million, that represents about $6.7 million at a current rate right now of about 4.65. So I'll let you take this slide, Jennifer.
Sure, thank you, John. So on this slide, you can see our estimate of the savings if the district were to pursue a refunding of the Series 2013 bonds that John just described. So on this table, for every bond payment year ending on the date in the left-hand column, you see estimated new debt service. So that is our estimate of what the new payments would be on a refunding bond transaction. Compare that to where it says old net debt service. That's currently what your payments are on those 2013 bonds. And then the highlighted column on the right is your savings. Every year, you can see it's about $48,000, give or take. For a total, if you were to pursue this refunding, our estimated total savings would be $437,000. On a present value basis, that's about $356,000, or 5.25%. If you take that number as a percentage of that $6.7 million that you'd be refunding. And that's a metric that our industry tends to look to see when a refunding is worthwhile. Generally, it's at about 3%, something to consider. Okay, and these numbers, just so you know, are based on the market as of just a couple weeks ago, and this is already net of all costs of issuance. So it's not that these are your savings and then you have to pay, various fees. That's already taken out of these numbers. So these are true savings to the taxpayer.
So a little timeline. We just wanted to present this for information. It's kind of a small success story. Save the taxpayers some money when it comes to the debt that we've incurred. But a timeline then would be to consider the approval of the resolution at our next board meeting on July 31st. And PMA is ready to sell those bonds as soon as August 1st if the approval passes. And then I just wanted to bring up to the board's attention as well, if we go back to that bond list, you'll see here, these are the 2013 bonds, so there's the $6.7 million in debt. Well, in November of this year also, there's $9.6 million in debt that also will be callable in February of 2024. So we have another opportunity with a little bit more principal to do another refunding. So, great. And I know on this, Jennifer, could you talk a little bit about, I know that PMA has done a lot of work with this, the debt schedule.
Sure. So I apologize. We did in Finance Committee have a similar table that outlined the total debt service, principal and interest, because the district has worked really diligently over the last probably decade at this point on this comprehensive restructuring plan that was ultimately completed in
in October of 2020. And so with that final issuance several years ago, we were able to level off the district's annual debt payments for several years, and then it ultimately drops a little bit, but we leveled off those debt service payments, and with that final issue, that alone reduced future bond levies by $15 million. On a present value basis, that savings to the taxpayers was about $11.3 million.
Good, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate the work that she and Bob do for the district and keep us updated. But we wanted to see if the board had any questions about this opportunity.
I'll let anybody go.
Is there any reason not to do this?
If we don't like saving money, no. So if we like
And-
the status quo. But it is, $43,000 a year for until 2034. That really does save the taxpayers about $387,000 over the life of that bond.
So once you, what is it called, recalling?
Recalling.
Recalling, if we recall this series bond, we can never recall it again?
Right, so that one would no longer be outstanding. Your new bonds, the proceeds from that would pay off the 2013, they'd be gone.
Thank you.
Yes. And that's what I know. Another time we'll talk about this list. You can actually see the schedule of when we're making payments on those bonds. So what you'll see is we will refinance those bonds, and then
Yes.
we'll pay them off before they would ever be
Right,
recallable.
which we've done before, and
Before,
it,
correct.
yeah, enables us to use the money. Yeah, got it.
So just one question. So when I see this total on the right side, that's not reflective of what we're paying, right? We've leveled those out.
That is the principal. So the 229 represents the principal. There's
Right.
also, as Jennifer mentioned, there's interest on that. So it'd be fair to say that we're paying, right now, what we levy for debt service is about $33 million a year. And that's what we're paying on bonds every year. So with interest, we have about $312 million of debt by 2034. And this refunding will reduce that a little bit.
So I saw either in the presentation or I saw somewhere that Moody's has upgraded District 308 bonds.
Yeah, we had our Moody's rating call, and where we were at, I forget exactly what the rating was, but last year they upgraded us a small notch from stable outlook to a positive outlook.
Right.
And now they raised us from a single, or I want to say a AA2 to a AA1 or something of that nature.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, and just so everyone understands, typically Moody's, first of all, Moody's is a national rating system. So while we within the community, and this is just more for education, the community will talk about things that are not functioning well or could be functioning better. We have been rated by, at least from this particular standpoint, we've been rated by a national third-party source as being a low-risk opportunity, which I think speaks a lot about us. Moody's has investment grade offerings, or rates something as BBB or above as investment grade. We are at a AA rating. The top tier is AAA. So we have improved greatly over the years, and I think that's just worth sharing.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
The only, what I had, so I asked, what is this based on, what rate, and I got, it's based on a 3.68 rate versus 4.65.
Correct.
So the open market is, the Federal Open Market Committee is meeting late July. How has that been impacting, the 10-year bonds? Do you think that that's going to eat into some of the savings, or because they're probably going to raise it another quarter, but it's probably already built in, but, I don't know.
You just answer your own question.
It should be built in, right? But.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. The Fed does meet the 25th and 26th. Generally what happens is by now, since we're only a couple weeks out, the market really does price in what they expect to happen. So might it move up? It could.
Maybe a
But what I
point or
think
two.
is really important about the fact that that meeting's coming up is it does impact short-term rates much more than, say, the 10-year. Now, this refunding is only 10 years long, so it would impact it if the market does react a little more than they typically would to a rate increase. But I wouldn't expect it to be, that alone, to be a particularly catastrophic.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to see what your thoughts on it. I'm not very familiar with munis, so.
Yeah, there's really two big risk events that could be happening. Number one is on July 12th, they'll be releasing the June CPI figures for the year. So that's one item that could impact this. And then the second is the Federal Reserve meeting on the 25th and 26th. So we'll be watching those closely, and hopefully, like Jen said, that those increases are kind of baked in there and won't really significantly impact our savings. But even if it's a small savings, it's a savings nonetheless. And
Yeah. I just figured since I had, people that look at this quite often, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, 9.1. Action item, bills for payment. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to authorize the payment of bills in the amount of $9,971,439.83 as presented.
Second.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Plover?
Aye.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. 9.2, action item, approval of proposal school day changes. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the proposed school hour changes as presented.
Second.
I have one thing on this.
Okay.
And so I'm just going to ask, because, sorry, but I have to ask. Junior high lunches, are we getting to a point of I have to advocate, and I'm excited about potential thinking outside the box, but we talked about culture and climate, and I appreciated that. I'd be curious what our junior high students said about their lunch, so.
Thank you for bringing that up. I do know that I've already started to work with our associate superintendent as well as with our human resources team.
And we had our
of-
first meeting today,
Correct.
along with Shannon Luders for junior high.
So we are beginning to think about out-of-box solutions, and one of the important things will be the additional potential staffing that may be, creative solutions for staffing to assist with that, as well as activities to support our students during that period, so it becomes a more enriching experience for them. So lunch becomes something exciting.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
No.
Mr. Plover?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1. 9.3, action item, approval of intergovernmental agreements with Oswego Fire/Ambulance. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement with Oswego Fire Ambulance as presented.
Second.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Mr. Plover?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. 9.4, action item, approval of building administrator contracts. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the building administrator contracts as presented.
Second.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Mr. Plover?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. 9.5, action item, approval of district administrator contracts. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the district administrator contracts as presented.
Second.
Mr. Plover?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Cerrone?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye. Motion passes 7-0. 9.6, action item, approval of personnel report. Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
Second.
Ms. Simulton?
Aye.
Mr. Plover?
Aye.
Mr. Gatewood?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Saron?
Aye.
Ms. Venmus?
Aye.
Dr. Maria?
Aye.
Do I just read both of them again, right? Just read them both, right? Yeah.
Motion passes 7-0. Can I have a motion to go back into closed session?
Make a motion to enter closed session under statutes 5 ILCS 120/2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of certain employees and individuals. 5 ILCS 120/2C2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
Second.
Second.
Ms. Venmus?